Imagine this. You're sitting in a classroom. It's a familiar scene. Rows of desks, the low hum of whispers, the nervous shuffle of papers. The clock ticks quietly in the corner. You've done this 1,000 times. But then, without warning, a strange sensation begins to stir within you. It's subtle at first, a small shift in perspective, like the world is tilting ever so slightly. The air feels heavier. The words being spoken by the teacher, though familiar, begin to lose their meaning. The lesson is the same, the expectations clear. Yet, you can't shake this feeling that something is terribly wrong. Why are you here? Why are any of us here? In the midst of this structured, orderly environment, a thought invades your mind. Does this all really matter? This classroom, this cycle of learning, the degrees, the careers, do they really hold any significance? You find yourself wondering, in this very moment, if anyone else in the room feels the same crushing uncertainty. What if everyone else is simply pretending to know? What if this, all of this, is nothing more than a massive collective delusion? As the lesson continues, you can't help but notice how real the emptiness feels. You see it in the faces of your classmates, all of them going through the motions, their eyes glazed over, their minds adrift. Are they just like you, seeking meaning in a place that offers none? Or are they pretending to have the answers, hiding their own existential dread behind the masks of conformity? The paradox sits heavy in the air. You are surrounded by people, and yet somehow you feel more alone than ever. Everyone seems lost, but no one dares admit it. The world outside the classroom buzzes with noise, but inside the silence is deafening. What is the point of it all? Does the world you are a part of even need you? Or are you, like so many others, simply an echo of the expectations placed upon you? And if you could escape, would you even want to? This question, this gnawing uncertainty, is the very thing that shapes us, whether we choose to face it or not. But where does it lead? What comes after you've stared into the abyss and found no answer? Stay with that thought, because the answer may be more unsettling than you could ever imagine. The truth is, what you're feeling isn't new. It's not just a passing moment of doubt or confusion. It's an ancient, almost primal response to the very fabric of human existence. This feeling, the one that lingers even when you try to distract yourself, is rooted deep within our psyche. You are experiencing something profoundly existential, and as unsettling as it is, it's not something to be feared. It's the result of a collision between our biological instincts and the weight of modern life, a clash of human nature and societal expectations. The roots of this crisis lie in the very core of what it means to be human. We are born with an innate sense of meaninglessness, a void that can never be truly filled by material success, status, or knowledge. This is the paradox that has haunted philosophers, from the Stoics of ancient Greece to the existentialists of the 20th century. The more we strive for certainty, the more we confront the abyss of uncertainty. Carl Jung, for example, recognized that much of our suffering comes from what he called the shadow, the unconscious parts of ourselves that we deny or repress. These parts represent all that we are unwilling to face, and they often manifest in the form of inner conflicts and existential despair. For many, the classroom, where they are supposed to be learning, progressing, achieving, becomes the perfect arena for this battle. The deeper truth that lies beneath the surface of these walls is that the very structure of our lives, our education, our careers, our roles, can become a veil, hiding us from the question that lies just beneath. Who am I really? And what am I meant to do? Friedrich Nietzsche understood this well. He spoke of the eternal recurrence, a thought experiment that asks, if you had to live your life over and over again, with no change, how would that affect the way you live now? Would you embrace every moment, every decision, every struggle as an opportunity? Or would you despair, knowing that the life you live may hold no deeper meaning than repetition? This question, though philosophical, taps into a very real psychological conflict, the tension between our desire for purpose and the harsh reality that there may be none. We look outside ourselves, at the people around us, at the structures that govern our lives, to find meaning. But often, As we dig deeper, we encounter only more questions. What are we really striving for? Success? Approval? Or is it something more, something human, a search for connection, for validation, for recognition in a world that sometimes seems indifferent to our existence? Jean-Paul Sartre famously declared that existence precedes essence. In other words, we are born without meaning, and it is up to us to create meaning through our choices and actions. But this liberation is double-edged, because once we realize that we are solely responsible for creating meaning, the burden becomes almost unbearable. The weight of freedom is heavy, and so the question persists. How do we navigate this existential crisis when every path seems like a leap into the unknown? The psychological force at play here is subtle, but its consequences are profound. For most of us, the impact of this existential crisis is hidden beneath the surface, buried under layers of routine and distraction. But like an underground river carving through rock, it shapes the way we think, feel, and live, often without our awareness. The tension between what we should do and what we want to do pulls at us from every direction, creating an invisible strain that we learn to live with, until, one day, we can't ignore it any longer. Have you ever found yourself in the middle of a conversation, surrounded by people, but feeling utterly disconnected? Or perhaps you've stood before a mirror, wondering who you are looking at, feeling like the reflection is someone else, someone you don't even recognize. This isn't just a momentary lapse. This is the manifestation of that deeper unrest, the crack in the facade of your everyday existence. It's a direct consequence of living in a world that demands you fit into neatly defined boxes: student, worker, friend, partner. But what happens when you no longer identify with the roles you've been given? What happens when you look at the world and realize that the path you've been walking is not one you chose? This inner dissonance plays out in ways that affect every aspect of our lives, from our personal relationships to our professional pursuits. Cognitive biases, like the status quo bias, which keeps us tethered to familiar routines even when they no longer serve us, are subtle forces that keep us from breaking free. We're conditioned to keep moving, to stay busy, to perform. But in this endless cycle, we rarely pause long enough to ask the critical questions. Am I truly living? Is this all there is? Neurologically, our brains are wired to seek meaning and to avoid discomfort. Yet, in our modern world, meaning is often elusive, and the discomfort of facing the unknown is overwhelming. So we suppress these feelings, distracting ourselves with productivity, consumerism, and the expectations of others. We dive into relationships, careers, and social media to fill the void. But in doing so, we often find that the more we strive for external validation, the less we feel connected to our true selves. The result? A life that may look perfect on the surface, but feels hollow within. Consider the societal norm that equates success with financial gain or career advancement. We are told that to be successful is to be productive, to be constantly striving toward the next milestone. But when we reach those milestones, we often find that they don't provide the fulfillment we expect. Instead, they push us to keep chasing the next rung on the ladder, never giving us the chance to stop and reflect on what we really want. This existential restlessness is not merely an individual problem, it's a societal one. The systems we've built, from education to employment, are designed to keep us moving forward, always progressing, always achieving. But what if, in this relentless drive for progress, we are losing something essential? What if, in our quest to fit into the machine, we are erasing the very essence of what it means to be alive? And here's the unsettling truth. By ignoring this crisis, we are allowing it to quietly shape the world around us. It manifests in the mental health crisis, in the rise of depression and anxiety, in the epidemic of burnout and alienation. It shapes our world in ways we cannot always see, but feel in every fiber of our being. The longer we live in denial of it, the deeper the consequences go. What if everything you've been taught about happiness, success, and fulfillment was a lie? What if the very structures that shape your life are the source of your deepest struggles? Imagine for a moment that you've been living inside a grand illusion, an illusion built by society, culture, and your own fears, and that the moment you step outside of it, you gain access to a truth so radical it rewrites everything you've ever known. What would it feel like to live without the constant pressure of external validation, without the weight of society's expectations on your shoulders? What if there were another way? A way to escape this invisible trap that has you believing you are not enough. The first step, paradoxically, is to stop seeking an answer in the world around you. Stop searching for someone or something to fix the existential void you feel. The solution, as strange as it sounds, lies in embracing the void itself. It's not about running from the discomfort or finding quick fixes. It's about sitting with the uncertainty, confronting the unknown, and radically rethinking what it means to live a fulfilled life. The rebellion begins when you stop looking for meaning in external achievements and start creating meaning from within. This is the essence of true freedom, choosing to exist on your own terms, not according to the blueprint handed down by society. One of the most profound ways to break free from the trap of existential despair is to adopt a mindset of radical acceptance. This is a concept explored by Viktor Frankl, who survived the Holocaust and later became one of the most influential thinkers on the topic of meaning. Frankl argued that even in the most harrowing circumstances, humans can find meaning by choosing how they respond to suffering. It's not the circumstances that define us, he said, but how we choose to face them. This insight is a powerful antidote to the existential crisis you're feeling. When you stop seeking meaning through achievement, through others, or through the validation of society, you create space to live authentically. It's about peeling away the layers of societal expectations and rediscovering who you are without the masks you've been conditioned to wear. This is the beginning of real rebellion, living unapologetically as yourself, in full acceptance of the uncertainty that comes with being human. But breaking free doesn't mean disengaging from the world altogether. It means learning to engage with the world on your own terms, not as a cog in a machine, but as an individual who recognizes their own worth. It means embracing discomfort, for it is in discomfort that growth happens. It means seeing your struggles not as obstacles, but as opportunities to create deeper meaning. Take a look at the lives of historical figures like Nietzsche or the poets of the Romantic era. These individuals dared to confront the darkness, the chaos, and the uncertainty of existence, and they did so with courage, creating their own meaning as they went along. Nietzsche's idea of the Übermensch, the overman, represents someone who rises above the constraints of society's values and creates their own path. This is your invitation to do the same. It may seem impossible now, but the truth is, you already have the power to transform your relationship with life. It begins with one simple act: choosing to live as you truly are, free from the weight of external demands, embracing your own unique essence. This rebellion isn't a rejection of life or society. It's an embrace of something more profound, your own sovereignty. It's the act of reclaiming what's rightfully yours, the power to create meaning in a world that seems to offer none. And then, in a flash of clarity, it hits you. Everything you've been searching for, everything you've tried to escape, is the very thing that has been waiting for you to embrace. The paradox you've been living is not a flaw in your existence. It is the heart of it. The suffering, the uncertainty, the void, all of it is part of the human experience. And only when you truly accept that fact, when you allow yourself to feel the full weight of it, do you begin to transcend it. The truth is not in finding the answers, but in embracing the questions themselves. What if, in the search for meaning, the ultimate realization is that there is no ultimate meaning at all? And yet, in that very lack of meaning, you discover a deeper, more profound freedom. This is the realization that many philosophers, from Sartre to Camus, have sought to illuminate. The absurdity of life, the incongruity of our desires for purpose in a world that offers none. This is where the greatest liberation lies. Not in resisting the chaos, but in dancing with it. Imagine for a moment that you are no longer bound by the need to justify your existence. What if you could finally let go of the constant pressure to achieve, to prove, to perform? This is not nihilism. It is a radical acceptance of the now. In the emptiness, you find infinite possibility. In the chaos, you find your own voice. And in the suffering, you discover that it is not something to escape, but something to transform. The ultimate truth, then, is that meaning is not something to be found. It is something you must create. And the beauty of this realization is that the very struggle you face becomes the soil from which your authentic life grows. The dissonance, the questions, the existential dread, all of it is the raw material from which you shape your own existence. You are the artist, the creator of your own narrative, and you are free to mold it as you see fit. This realization does not erase the discomfort, the struggles, or the uncertainties, but it gives you a new lens through which to view them. No longer are they obstacles to be avoided. They are, instead, opportunities for growth, for expression, for the creation of meaning. They are part of the human condition, and by accepting them, you reclaim your power. In the end, the greatest freedom lies in this acceptance. The realization that you are not a passive observer in your life, but the active creator of it. Your thread of consciousness is not some fleeting, insignificant thing. It is an intricate part of the vast, interconnected web of existence. And once you accept that, once you realize that the struggle is not the enemy, but the very means through which you create your deepest meaning, everything shifts. So what now? How do you move forward? The answer is simple, but it is not easy. You begin by taking one step into the unknown, knowing that every step you take is a step toward reclaiming your true self. And as you walk, you will discover that the very question you've been asking, what is the point of it all, becomes irrelevant. The point is not in the destination, but in the journey itself. The point is not in finding the answers, but in creating the questions. And in that, you will find your freedom. The journey has just begun, and the world, your world, awaits.